When talking about clutter and minimalism, most people only focus on the physical or the material side of life. But there are many other types of clutter in our lives that we don't even realize are there most of the time. So rather than telling you to declutter the clothes in your closet, I'd much rather dig a bit deeper and talk about the types of clutter that are often overlooked and ignored, starting with mental clutter. This type of clutter is often ignored in favor of capsule wardrobes and highly aesthetic furniture pieces with prices that aren't very minimalist. Now, at no fault of our own, we believe that this is all it takes to live a simple life. That if our home feels light and airy, and if it takes us less than 30 seconds to get dressed every morning, then we must be doing something right. Now, the physical side of clutter or decluttering has its place, but it's not the be all and end all to living a simple life. See, if our minds are cluttered with thoughts, emotions, worry, self judgment, or concern about what others might be thinking about us, then it doesn't matter how little you own, or whether or not you have pictures hanging on your wall, or if every clothing item in your closet has a similar color palette. You might appear to be living a simple life, but internally you're as cluttered and a hot mess as it can be. Now, the best approach to decluttering our mental space that I've found success with is writing. And to help you find that same success, I have a free writing exercise with 4 prompts that are guaranteed to help you get started and begin to uncover the mental clutter that is holding you hostage. You can download this exercise on my website at ronaldlbanks.com/mental clutter. Behavioral clutter. Take a look at the things you do every single day that are both ingrained habits and a part of your daily routine. Maybe you come home from work or an outing, and the moment you walk through the door, you don't hang up your jacket, or you don't put your shoes away in the closet the moment you take them off your feet. Or maybe you live out of your laundry basket every week after doing laundry, like I used to, instead of folding your clothes and putting them away right away. See, these are behavioral things we do out of habit that then turn into physical clutter in our space. And 99% of the time, we're oblivious to these clutter inducing behaviors we have. But if we just start paying attention, then we can reduce a whole lot of clutter in our life that is easily avoidable. Now, the best way to fix this is to first recognize and break up with these poor habits. This means taking a step back and looking at our life and our routines to see where we can make the biggest adjustment. We all have behavioral habits that add clutter to our life. From there, we can begin to develop and set new habits that both aid us and remind us to not give in to these clutter inducing behaviors. Bargain clutter. I wish I had footage of all the junk I used to buy just because it was on sale or a good deal I couldn't pass up. I'm talking about random picture frames, knickknacks I tried to decorate with, shoes I didn't need, clothes I didn't need. I mean, H&M was my spot back in the day, especially the sales rack in the back with the $5 and $10 red stickers. Yeah, that was all me. See, taking advantage of a good deal is something we've all taken part in at some point. And as a result, we've all accumulated what I'm calling bargain clutter. Now, the best way to deal with these items actually starts with us. And that means we have to develop some discipline and stop purchasing random things just because they're on sale. This also means we should eliminate window shopping as a pastime habit whenever we're bored, because clearly we don't have any self-control. Now, when it comes to random things we already own, the best course of action here is to donate them to your local donation center or sell them using Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or something similar. Pro tip though, especially if you're a crafty person in your free time, is you can take these items and upcycle them into something new and a one-of-a-kind piece that you can then turn around and sell as a custom item. Guilty clutter. Comment below if you've used this excuse. But I've spent so much money on it. Or, whoa, don't you know how much I spent on that? I can't just give it away. Well, if you have, then it's likely you're suffering from guilty clutter because you have a guilty conscience when it comes to the idea of getting rid of something you spent your hard-earned money on. Common examples are clothes and shoes that you haven't worn in years but are hesitant to let go of because, again, like I said, you spent a lot of money on them. Now, the best way to deal with these items, again, starts with us, and it requires us to realize and recognize that the money is gone. We're not getting it back, and it's not likely that we'll make back what we originally spent on it if we tried to sell it. Now, you can sell it if you want to, just don't have any high expectations around how much you make. Now, the next course of action after you try to sell it would obviously be to donate it or give it away. Now, really quick, part 2 to guilty clutter would be the guilt we feel in reference to gifts we receive but don't want. Now, if this is something you feel, then I want to remind you that gifts are given with the intent to show love or congratulations. When we accept a gift, we're accepting the intent in which it was given under. After that, it's up to us what we do with that item. If we decide to donate it, then that's our decision. If we decide to keep it, then that's our decision. And 9 times out of 10, the gift giver is not going to ask you about the gift the next time you see them, so I wouldn't worry about that. Aspirational clutter. Similar to bargain clutter, these are things you pick up and purchase, regardless if they're on sale or not, that are a reflection of your fantasy self. Now, who is your fantasy self? This is the side of you who aspires to be a certain way or live a certain lifestyle, but the real you is a little hesitant, to say the least. You like the idea of something in most cases, but in practice, you haven't shown much promise of consistency. So all the gadgets and equipment you bought for said lifestyle and activity are just sitting there, taking up space and not being used. So an honest question you have to ask yourself is, do I ever plan on using this item? And if so, when and how often? Now, if you don't have a clear answer to this question, then it might be time to drop the act, accept that this was a good idea, just not something you truly have an interest in doing, and move on. You can donate this item to your local donation center or sell it if it's in good condition. Emotional clutter. Just like the mental clutter I spoke about at the beginning of this conversation, emotional clutter is overlooked just as often. Now, when I say emotional clutter, I'm talking about the emotions you're holding on to within yourself. Maybe it's from an old relationship, an old friendship, a family situation, or something personal you're dealing with that has kept you trapped in an emotional jail. Now, I know it may be hard and challenging depending on your situation to know exactly what to do, but the first step is facing those emotions so you can deal with them and rid them of control over your life. This may mean writing every day, which is something I did to help me work through my mental and emotional clutter. But if you're dealing with something deeper, don't be afraid to ask for help. Seeing or wanting to see a professional is nothing to be embarrassed of. Now, the moment you overcome and rid yourself of this clutter, you'll start to open yourself up, especially mentally, to new and exciting things in life. So if you take nothing away from this conversation, please don't ignore your mental and emotional clutter. This is a must, regardless if you're a fan of minimalism or not. Sentimental clutter. Now, I don't believe that you should feel obligated to get rid of all of your sentimental items for the sake of minimalism. What I do believe, however, is that you should be extremely selective about what is actually sentimental to you, so that way you can find ways to enjoy these things more. Now, personally, every item that I have that is in question, I put through a 4-step filter that I created. Step 1 is head, step 2 is mouth, step 3 is heart, and step 4 is hand. Now, within step 1, there are a series of questions I like to ask. Questions like, is this causing friction within my family? Do I feel obligated to keep this? Can I realistically use this or repurpose it in some way? Now, anything that makes it through this 4-step filtering process, I consider a true sentimental item, and I keep it. Everything else goes on the chopping block, as they say. Stocking up clutter. If this past pandemic taught us anything these last couple of years, it's definitely how to stock up. I still don't quite understand the whole toilet paper craze. Now, outside of the recent pandemic, which we're finally starting to make our way out of, and everyday household items that we buy and use every day, stocking up clutter is usually the result of a scarcity mindset. A belief that there is never going to be enough, so we stock up and hold on to everything we can now out of fear that it might not be available later. Now, the best way to overcome a scarcity mindset and as a result eliminate the stocking up clutter we've collected is to prioritize an abundance mindset. I shared exactly how to do that in this video here, a minimalist guide to a better life that I'll link to below. However, for some very practical next steps that you can take right now, I would suggest that you spend some time going through every closet or cabinet that you've managed to stockpile something in. Think about your hallway closet or the kitchen pantry and have an honest conversation with yourself. Are these things you genuinely need and have a plan for, or are they simply serving as a comfort to a fear you have? Financial clutter. Again, similar to mental and emotional clutter, financial clutter is often overlooked in favor of clothes we don't wear and gadgets we no longer use. However, if you're not facing your finances regularly, then I can guarantee that you don't know where all of your money is going, which makes it likely that you have more financial clutter than you realize. Now, the best way to get a hold of your finances and begin to eliminate unnecessary spending is by making it a priority to budget every month and track your spending. And I know these are buzzwords that you're probably tired of hearing, but they make up the core foundation of money management that many people are not doing, so I have to mention it. Now, if you're a bit more advanced when it comes to managing your money, yet you still have a bit of financial clutter, then I start to take a look at trends within your spending based on different times of the year, as well as your overall financial plan and how things like monthly and quarterly reviews and getting the family involved can help keep this ship headed in the right direction. And lastly, life-changing clutter. Now, this happens when a major life event happens in your life. It could be a bad breakup or the loss of a loved one, but it doesn't always have to be bad. It could be a marriage, or maybe you're deciding to start a family of your own and bringing a child into the world. Now, regardless of the nature of your life-changing event, something major like this can lend itself to attracting clutter. Maybe it's you coping with something bad that has happened in your life, and you turn towards shopping and collecting things as a way to deal with that. Or it could be the simple fact that you and your partner are combining your two separate worlds into one space because you're moving in together. Now, the best way to navigate this would be to start slow and have open conversations. At the end of the day, it's just stuff, and you don't want that getting between you and your relationship. Now, on the other hand, if you're coping with something, then the best approach here is to give yourself grace and be gentle. Yet at the same time, you have to take the first step. That might mean asking for help if you need it. Now, if you want to continue exploring the non-material side of life and clutter so you can ultimately regain control of your life, then watch this playlist next and be prepared to put in the work. Otherwise, if you're new to minimalism, this is the best place to start. Keep growing, keep learning, and always stay true to you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.